Spawning in the bottom right-hand corner. The player that might almost missed out on a spot on the right at 36, but he is here now. It is the blue Terran playing for Team Liquid, uThermal.
Yes, it is. Something that we should bring up is the fact that originally we had a different player that was invited to the round of 36, and that player was Ragnarok. Unfortunately, due to certain circumstances, he did actually end up getting COVID, and Ragnarok could not join us here in IEM.
Oh my god, I really hope that uThermal's doing the boar bus here. That would be so sick. Have you heard of it?
I've heard of it, but tell us about it, Nate. Tell us.
Well, it's a one base all in where you get a second barracks quite early with no add-on on it, and you just make 3 tanks and then go across the map. I mean, obviously it could be a variety of builds, but I know that build specifically does get this second depot quite early, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, regardless of what it's going to be, Cyan is going to be in the dark. He does not get into the main base. He will not be able to scout what kind of one-base shenanigans that uThermal is going for. And I think that's one of the best things about uThermal is like how diverse he is with his builds, especially in this matchup. Like, I feel like he has a lot of different all-ins and a lot of different ways to play this out.
Yeah, so this game he does just open up with the single gas and will be going into the very standard Reaper expand, but obviously Cyan is in the dark. He has no idea that the CC is going up, and he's probably thinking in his mind about all the proxies that could be coming for him right now.
Yeah, because there's a lot of proxy potential here as a Terran player. You know, there's proxy Marauder, there's proxy Reaper. There's quite a bit, and Cyan is going to be in that dark. Meanwhile, uThermal, as we can see, it is fairly standard from him. I say fairly standard. He still does go for that second Rax before the factory.
Yeah, very interesting move. Yeah, I mean, he started the barracks after the factory, so it's not like it's like some crazy 2-1-1 opening against Protoss, but yeah, I'm not sure I've ever seen these timings on these buildings in the matchup. Yeah, I wonder if it's to counter a specific style that he knows Cyan likes to play, maybe against what he thinks is a one-base opener.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I was alluding to before. When you know, uThermal was never originally planned to be a part of IEM, so I don't know how prepared he is. I don't know how much he's familiar with Cyan as well. Like, that's the other kind of wrench thrown in the works here, is the fact that because these regions are so isolated from each other, do they really have time to look each other up and practice for each other? I'm sure uThermal did in the short time that he was aware that he was playing in this tournament, but yeah, I don't know how much of Cyan he knows, he's familiar with.
And it looks like, I mean, his uThermal's starport is quite late, but it looks like he is going into more of a 2-1-1 setup where he's getting the fast dim. He's going to have a lot of Marines. Maybe he just thinks that he can punish an early third base from Cyan. If Cyan sees something like this. But yeah, we do have to mention that since uThermal was called in on maybe a bit short notice, he probably doesn't have the most amazing preparation for a player like Cyan, but already he's showing some pretty crazy stuff that maybe suggests he knows something that we don't.
All right, man, he's here to have fun. He's here to do something wild and to win with it is what he has. As against him is already halfway done. Cyan is pushing out across the map with a couple of these stalkers, so he's going to be testing the waters here at the ramp. Unfortunately, there is no bunker, but I mean, we have more than enough here to defend. Or do we? Oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, there's a proxy pylon here, 3-8 Robo from Cyan, no blink on the way. This is a pretty committed pressure, and Stim is not anywhere close to done. There's a mine on the map for the Oracle, there's no tank.
Exactly, there's no tank. Boys are being pulled as well. Like, without Stim, Cyan, he can kite for days.
Yeah, that's one saving grace for uThermal here is this ramp. Since there's no high gun vision, I think that he might have scanned and killed the observer that was providing high gun vision, but that's the one saving grace he has right now, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to hold this position much longer.
Oh my god, is he just going to go? He's just going. He just loads up, and he's sending his medevacs across the map. He doesn't even care.
And Cyan will see this with the observer, so he'll know to recall in time, and there is enough energy for it. There's actually a ton of energy, enough for a recall and a super battery, but this is exactly where uThermal wants to be, because I feel like his army might be able to fight Cyan. So Cyan recalls now, but uThermal's army's already dropped out.
Yeah, and there we go. The first stim is activated. He does target down one of those stalkers, and now he can just go for the workers.
Yeah, he goes to depower the buildings, and I mean, remember, there's no blink for Cyan here, so uThermal can be quite aggressive with these medevacs. He doesn't have to be too scared of them getting pounced on.
Yeah, exactly. We do have some decent force fields, and there we go. He will have to pick up and leave, but because of that lack of blink, like, he doesn't really lose too much at all.
Yeah, and I mean, a few workers go down, but the supplies are quite even, but I still feel like uThermal's probably in a bit of a deficit. Having to lift the CC, not being able to mine during all this.
Yeah.
I mean, at least Cyan doesn't have a third base started or blink, but he's already got into his Colossus tech.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's why I was yeah. This opener from uThermal, it was kind of weird. It was kind of wonky. I mean, at least he is now pushing out across the map, and now he does have that tank. There's a world where maybe he can get into a good enough position before that Colossus comes out, or as it comes out. Does snipe that observer.
Yeah, and it feels like uThermal kind of has to make something happen with the units he has, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen against a player that's playing 2-base Colossus, especially on a map with a ramp like this.
Yeah, exactly. Like, breaking this natural base is going to be so difficult to pull off. He does have one tank, but again, it's only one tank. Is it going to be enough? I mean, he's going to shell away, and maybe he can take out the Cybercore.
Yeah, and at the same time, Cyan's actually not... He's so confident in his defense right now, he's not even warping in any more units here. He's warping in 3 Adepts on the other side of the map, and... Yeah, uThermal's going to get picked off, and the Adepts are going to shade in, so we'll see if they get any damage done.
Yeah, exactly. The wall is not a wall. The Adepts will get into the mineral line, and uThermal has not responded. He is losing workers. At the same time, the armies are clashing outside the map. Oh, it looks like uThermal was able to siege up in time and does force Cyan back.
Yeah, I mean, this move from uThermal was really nice because it meant that Cyan's third base is so delayed. Like, he's had the money to make the third base for quite a while. Now, uThermal just has to worry about this big counterattack coming with the Thermal Lance upgrade.
Yeah, I'm just worried because it is a pretty big counterattack, and the tanks are actually moving out with the army, so they're not pre-sieged on top of the ramp. There is only one Colossus, though, so I don't know, and Cyan just doesn't really have a lot here.
Yeah, and remember that I feel like maybe if there was Blink here, Cyan could have killed the tank there, but not having Blink really hurts these small, scrappy engagements.
Yeah, but he warps in a wave of zealots behind the army. He's going to try and go first round. He doesn't have charge, but he does get on top of the tanks.
Yeah, a lot of the units of uThermal were actually sitting in the back, but Cyan's going to lose all his stuff. He's going to start losing Colossus.
Oh my god, the first Colossus does get focused down. The second has plenty of HP, though. Despite all that, Cyan still trades, I guess, a little bit more efficiently, but I don't think he can keep going. Oh my god. Never mind.
I mean, all the tanks are down. I guess one Colossus is pretty strong. It's the proxy pylon here still helping a lot. I feel like uThermal was just super out of position with some of those Marines on the ramp. I don't know why they were up there. Maybe he was really scared of Cyan hitting a strong charge timing, so he wanted his units to be a bit split up, but there what he needed was all his Marines near the tanks so that they don't get focused down really fast by the Stalker Colossus.
Exactly, man. No one expects the flanking slow lots. Because Cyan, he was able to just dominate that fight, reset the tank count. He's still here in the main base with these Stalkers. I don't think Cyan can necessarily end the game from here, but again, he's already built so much.
Yeah, I mean, he's out mining now. His third base is about to finish too, so he's going to be ahead in that economy. At least uThermal has actually had a third base done for quite a while now, so in terms of the economy, it's going to be pretty equal as he's only on 3 gases, but killing a Colossus there was huge. If there was still, like, if there was 3 Colossus on the map right now, I think it'd be a lot scarier.
Yeah, definitely. So at least uThermal was able to get that done with that engagement. And as you were saying, you know, now he's getting his third base up and running. He's gonna have triple mule production. Like, sure, he's down in workers, but he can attempt to make up for that with those mules. And now he's going across the map with a bit of a drop. We'll see if he can get some damage done. Again, there's not a lot protecting that Colossus at the third base. So not the strongest force, but we'll see.
Yeah, as Cyan actually has very little vision on the map. This prism's just moved out, so he has no idea this drop is here. He might be able to kill the 4th base, but it's not going to start just yet. So the units are going to stim in, but a Colossus and a few sentries in position, so yeah.
Looks like it is going to be enough. He does confirm the 4th base. He does at least confirm that, but because the drop reveal itself, you know, Cyan, he is able to position himself, and the 4th will not be cancelled.
Yeah, and I'm guessing soon we'll see uThermal switch into the Ghost production, and we'll probably get into a pretty normal mid game.
Yeah, we'll get into a normal mid game, but I still do want to favor Cyan a little bit here. Like, he did come out of the early game a little bit ahead. Like, he's getting his 4th base, bearing in mind that it's a gold. He's working on those disruptors as well to help complement his Colossus. He's kind of getting everything he wants, everything he needs.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that uThermal hasn't taken his extra gases that you would normally need to switch into Ghost. So I wonder if he's going to do more of a committed pressure here with a lot of tanks, because he
Mm,
also didn't start switching into mines yet, which is
mm.
more of the standard composition after a few tanks against Colossus.
Yeah, I feel like you have your initial tank push, and then you start working on those mines, right, to help against those charges that you get to see later on in the game. But that tank count is getting pretty high, and he's not stopping either.
Yeah, and still no Ghost Academy. Extra gas is being taken now, but it's pretty late. I'm really curious to see if he just tries to hit a strong timing with like a ton of tanks.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I imagine so as well. I think what's interesting is that he is complementing those tanks with Liberator production now. He did stop his Vikings instead, which I do think is probably the right call to make. So yeah, very interesting composition that we don't see. I would say we don't see too often here. Just avoiding those ghosts until
Mm,
now.
I wonder if he was really sure that he was super dead, so he wanted to play as defensively as possible, and that meant like not being greedy by taking his gases or by teching up to Ghost, but now his army is actually looking so strong.
Oh yeah, it's terrifying. It's massive. It's huge. The first Nova goes out, and oh my god, it connects with the majority of the Marauders.
Yeah, definitely not what uThermal wanted there. So many units going out to that first Nova, as the Zealot drop is going to get past the missile turret, and yeah, it's starting to look really rough for uThermal here.
Yeah, massive Zealot warping into the main base. The entirety of uThermal's army was pulled back to help defend. Meanwhile, here at the third, he did leave his siege line, his tank line, and it looks like it will hold the line for the time being, but oh my god, so much damage was done by those Zealots.
Yeah, and behind this, Cyan's going up to 5 bases. His worker count is so healthy. He's starting his Fleet Beacon and his Dark Shrine. He's got everything he wants.
Exactly. The transition into Skytoss is there. +1 air attack is already more than halfway done as well, which is shocking to me. And unfortunately, like uThermal, he's not ready for that. He's not ready for Skytoss.
Yeah, very interesting that since Cyan has committed so much into the tech here, that uThermal's actually going to take a supply lead. Very strange considering the position he's been in all game, but it comes down to the fact that Cyan just invested like 2k into just his tech.
Yeah.
And as soon as that kicks in, it's really going to pay dividends.
Exactly, and the problem is that because of the way the past few minutes have been played out, like uThermal, he's too scared to push out, right? Like because of the blows been taken to the economy, because the Protoss ground army has been sharking around, he's just stuck slowly trying to expand instead of potentially moving out and taking advantage of the supply lead.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me think of almost a TVZ style where you stay on quite a low base count and expand slowly, but I'm not sure if that's going to cut it in this matchup where the Protoss can do so much more with a huge bank than the Zerg can. Obviously, they can warp in like 10 DTs to go kill a base while fighting your front. I'm not sure if you want to give Protoss as much room.
Exactly. And again, it's one of those things where maybe just because of how the game has been playing out, that's like he feels like he needs to give the Protoss room because he feels like he needs to be this defensive, but it's just kind of in a way throwing away his advantage, right? And he's getting further and further behind.
Yeah, I mean, to his credit though, I think that if he had attacked at any point in this game, it wouldn't have gone well for him, so I think it was a good move, but another huge disruptor shot on the Ghosts, as Cyan is just bullying his way in another, oh my god, the disruptor shots.
Oh my god, GG, well played. We won't even get to see the carriers come into play as all 3 Purification Novas connect with the army. GG, Cyan takes the first game.
Yeah, a bit of an abrupt ending. I think that a lot of uThermal's army was tied up defending the main from that prism, and once it tried to come down to actually defend Cyan's front on push, it was all stuck in that choke point on the ramp, and it was just, minced by the disruptors.
It's something that happened multiple times there. Whenever the War Prism got into the main base, just all the entirety of the Bio Army would respond in kind and go in and defend. And in the end, Cyan was able to, I don't know if it was intentional or not, to catch the army like that, but it worked out really well there for Cyan.
Yeah, exactly.
GG, well played. And with that, Cyan does take a lead in this series, but hopefully, uThermal is able to recognize. I mean, it's hard to recognize your advantages. Like again, like he had such a massive supply lead for a while there, but I don't know if he was necessarily aware of that, right? Like,
No, it's really surprising that he managed to get a supply lead, considering I felt like he was on the back foot that whole game, but I guess he did cut out the things like teching up. His fourth base was so much later than Cyan's, and Cyan
Yeah.
just had so much more of his money invested into tech instead of army that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, an abrupt ending there, but I think if the game had kept going, we still would have seen Cyan in a very dominant position.
Yeah. I mean, man, we had triple carrier production. Like,
Yeah.
and +1 was finishing up as well. Like, oh, so very dominant showing there by Cyan. Again, really showing that Cyan, specifically in this matchup, is a force to be reckoned with. For a long time in his own region, he and Time have been battling it out and working and improving themselves this specific matchup. And now Cyan, like, he's showing off that, hey, his PvT is pretty goddamn good.
I mean, I wonder if Probe is watching this series and maybe taking some notes because yeah, definitely a strong opening there for Cyan. And it all came down to like that initial proxy pylon, like doing the adept warp
Yeah.
in and then kind of punishing the opener of uThermal since he could never get tanks out to stop that that pressure with the build he was doing, that he lost a lot of Marines. And then that was a crazy move with just sending the 2-1-1 across. I think that was definitely something that uThermal learned from Time. Time of like once I remember a while ago he started opening 2-1-1 in this matchup on this map, and he would just it's actually very similar. I wonder if he learned that from him, but he doesn't care about his natural. He just picks up the medevacs and goes, and it's up to the Protoss to respond.
Yeah, but it's unfortunate if that's the case, if it was picked up from Time, because it's like, well, if any player has experience playing against Time, it's Cyan,
Yeah,
like, like it's kind of almost a hard counter in a way. So yeah, that's a little bit unfortunate how that ended up playing out. No, but I agree, it's something that we kind of glossed over, but like that proxy pylon, it took a long time for it to be cleaned up. Like, it was even coming into play with that big fight outside the natural base where like reinforcements were being warped in behind the army. It's not like he had a war prism or anything like that, like, so he couldn't reinforce any other way. That pylon really did come into play.
Yeah, it felt like that engagement was really on a knife's edge. I feel like if just a few things had gone differently, that Cyan's whole army would have been killed. Like, he only had like 8 Stalkers, a Sentry, and 2 Colossus. And uThermal also had 3 tanks. He had a really healthy Marine count. But I think some of the units were a little bit out of position because he expected the charge to finish or something similar. And it just, didn't go too well, but definitely could have gone the other way too.
Oh yeah, it was very, very close fight, very close engagement there. Oh, but in the end, it did go Cyan's way, and now we are going into game number 2. Is this where it all ends, or can our European Terran fight back as we get into 2,000 atmospheres?
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see a more standard opening from both players here, maybe after the craziness of the first game.
Fingers crossed, mate. We'll see. I mean, I'm up for anything, mate. I'm up for anything. The crazier, the better. Oh, God. And speaking of crazy, here he is, spawning in the top left-hand corner of 2,000 atmospheres LE. We have the European Terran hailing from the land of the Netherlands, representing Team Liquid. It is uThermal.
Spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, the Time Slayer, showing that Time's dominance in the region might be coming to an end, and with a dominant performance in Game 1, it is the Chinese Red Protoss Cyan. And wow, I can't believe I didn't notice that. That was a very Time-esque style from uThermal in that game, which is, as you said, very interesting against Cyan specifically.
Yeah. It's I feel like Time is the last player you want to be playing like right now. So it's a bit of a feels bad, man. But again, what I was saying at the start of the last series is that uThermal, he's a man of many builds. I feel, he is quite diverse. He has a lot of variety in his play. So I'd be surprised if we see another like 2-1-1-esque opener from uThermal here.
Yeah, for sure. As we do see a reactor first opening, so we're already a bit crazy here. obviously could lead into many things. I would assume usually it'll lead into a 3-racks, but it could be a lot of other things too.
Yeah, I'm curious as well. So obviously because of this opener, uThermal is skipping out on his initial Reaper, so he won't have that to scout, at least initially. So he does rely a lot on this SCV scout to confirm that everything is normal across the map. And yeah, with this, he can get into a lot more Marine production, and I also expect a 3-racks, but I mean, we'll see. Maybe another 2-1-1 on there.
Yeah, quite an interesting move here. Cyan actually hid his second pylon in the main, because usually you want to make the pylon on the natural so you can make a wall later if they make Hellions. But I wonder if uThermal is maybe going to be faked out by this a bit and think there's a second pylon on the map somewhere, as he's going to go scouting around.
Yeah, that SCV is diligently scouting throughout the map for that second pylon. Of course, we know it's still there in the main base, but uThermal is still unawares. Meanwhile, we do have that second racks being thrown down. Sorry, third racks even being thrown down, so it is going to be that 3-racks.
Yeah, and a very interesting follow-up with the double Reaper. Sometimes we see this where the Protoss can get kind of lax against these reactor first openings and just send their first few units across to pressure, and then suddenly there's 2 Reapers in their base getting a ton of damage. So we'll have to see if the Reapers manage to dodge the Stalker, which it looks like they will barely go around them.
Oh, they barely will as they zoom out across the map. Meanwhile, Cyan is actually going for a robo opener, and this is where I'm a little bit afraid, because do you think, is he gonna because he hasn't confirmed anything yet, is he gonna blindly go into like a robotics bay? Like, is he gonna, is that?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it before where if Protosses just have an inkling that it might be a 3-racks, they go in, but it looks like the Sentry's taking a lot of damage from the Reaper. A good force, a great grenade gets him out of the surround of the probes, and the Sentry's gonna live.
Oh my god, the Sentry lives, the Reapers survive, nothing dies. Crazy.
Yeah, that was very exciting for literally nothing happening.
But it's because nothing happened that it was insane. Meanwhile, the Stalker, the first Stalker does get picked off as it trades with a Reaper. And as we can see, Cyan is playing this a little bit safer. He is getting his Immortal out first, so he's not being as greedy as possible going into that robotics bay. But again, that tech is available to him once he figures out what is going on, if he figures out what is going on.
Yeah, definitely a very interesting style. I'm not sure what he expects, because obviously with a normal 3-racks opening, you always never go Reaper because you want to pull off gas as soon as possible. So this double Reaper, probably the last thing you're thinking about at this point is a 3-racks, because you would have to commit so much more to that gas mining. But Cyan will confirm now that it is a 3-racks, and we'll see what his response is going to be.
Yeah, exactly. With that observer, he was able to spot the production. He does immediately throw down a third Nexus, and I feel like he should be throwing down a robotic space from here, but we'll see, because maybe he has another response that he's comfortable with when going up against 3-racks.
Yeah, it looks like at the moment he's just pumping Immortal Sentry, which I have seen work too, where if the turn commits slightly too far and there's a super battery ready, the force fields can cut off the army's retreat and the Immortals will just go to town on the Marauders.
Oh yeah, meanwhile, I love it. He just hallucinates a Colossus as well, which is very fitting here, and it could work. We'll see. The Bio Army is pushing out across the map. Both of these shield batteries are about to finish up.
Yeah, I think that uThermal should know that this is fake. I don't know if you can afford an Immortal and a Colossus here, so... But he is going to respect it and not commit too hard one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult, like, especially pushing up this ramp when you're up against 4 sentries like this, like, you will be force fielded. Like, it's just not going to work out for you. As we do see, Cyan is trying to bait him up, trying to poke in, poke out. Oh, he has to be careful that first Immortal is going to get focused down. Yeah,
pretty nice force fields do catch a lot of Marines, though, and Immortal's not the most important units as we get into more of a PvT mid-game, so... Not the worst trade for Cyan there, but he's really overstepping here against the Marine Marauder. He's losing all the sentries as he's trying to micro back, but there's so many units here for uThermal.
Oh my god, Cyan, what's going on, buddy? Like, he was trying to take advantage of the ramp earlier, but now he overextends, loses almost everything.
Yeah, definitely a huge mistake there. At least he will trade decently with uThermal's army, but he loses all the good tech units. He loses the sentries, he loses the Immortals. Yeah, definitely a bit of a mistake there, moving away from his defensive position.
Yeah, just like that, even though uThermal wasn't able to get to anywhere near that third base earlier, he does kind of come out ahead when it comes to trading. Meanwhile, Sandy's going to be careful here. He's trying to harass it. He does delay the third base at least a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, this pressure is at least forcing stims, which is always nice when the Terran doesn't have medevacs out, but that's all it really is a pressure. It's not really getting much done, and uThermal is behind this, getting his +1 started. Third base is halfway done. He's already into the 3-rack setup still from the opening. Yeah, definitely not the worst position for uThermal here.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it's more on Cyan to make something happen, especially after losing all those gas-intensive units, right? Like, he's one who needs to pick off whatever he can. And again, he does actually delay that CC for the for the second time. So he's being as annoying as possible. Meanwhile, there we go. Colossus production has commenced. Extended thermal lance on the way. Oh, it's getting into it.
Yeah, it's really nice actually that in this game particularly Cyan didn't commit to the 2-base Colossus because it meant his third base was way faster and he just has a huge worker lead since he never cut probes. His third base was on time, so it's actually paying off for him in this case, and he's definitely not out of it.
Yeah, like it's actually pretty insane how far ahead he is in the workers. Like, because of that, you could argue that it's kind of okay that he threw away so much earlier on because he can make up for it now. Now that he has 72 probes, he's already getting his fourth base up and running when uThermal hasn't even landed his third. But let's see if he's able to get away with all this, because now uThermal is going across map with his drop.
Yeah, and uThermal's just going up to the normal 5-rack setup. He's going to go pressure with this drop while try to secure his third base at home, and yeah, it looks like both players are going to be poking a bit with their air units as the prism comes in a little bit to the natural.
Oh, exactly. You gotta be a little bit careful. We do have a Mr. in position, and there we go, Cyan. He does have eyes on it. He will back off in time not to lose his War Prism. At the same time, Cyan actually had control of that Watchtower earlier, so he's well aware of the drop. Does confirm it with his Adept. Does know its position.
Yeah, and uThermal just trying to take map control here, taking control of these watchtowers, which are often the defining feature of this map. Even though they are away from the central path, more often than not, the army movement actually goes over one of these watchtower paths anyway, so holding them can be very nice for map vision.
Oh yeah, it definitely can. And now, in the end, they did kind of end up bouncing off each other. uThermal, he goes back home, and that means I'm a little bit worried because now Cyan, all of his production is now coming into play, right? Now all of his gateway explosion is done. He's working on his upgrades, working on a second robo. Colossus production is well underway, and now we're getting into that midway in mid game in full stride.
Yeah, and it doesn't really look like either player has a huge advantage. Even though Cyan did make that small mistake earlier, I feel like he more than made up for it with his earlier third base and worker counts, so it's going to bring him back into this, and I almost think it's even chances for both players at this point. We'll have to see how the mid-game fights go.
Yeah, it's going to be all about the control of those engagements. You know, how good are the EMPs going to be? How good are the splits going to be against the disruptors? The focus fire, the positioning of the army. It's all going to come down to that. And we can see a little bit coming into fruition here as, you know, we do see both players getting ready for some run-bys. Massive Zealot run-by on the left, drop to the right.
Yeah, and uThermal currently with a bit of an upgrade lead, which is going to be nice. Usually the +2 armor is a bit later than this, so definitely going to be nice for him here as he moves out now while trying to defend this Zealot run by at the same time and also dropping.
Oh yeah, here we go. Drop his head towards the natural base. Meanwhile, the Zealots are going to be dealt with. Do have a decent EMP, and the army does come back home to clean up these Zealots.
Yeah, but at the same time, a really nice drop into the natural. I think Blink is done here, so some of these medevacs should get picked off, but oh, actually not. 2 of them are going to get out, and that's a really annoying position for Cyan to deal with.
Yeah, Blink not being done, surprisingly. So Cyan messing up a little bit there, delaying that upgrade, and that does mean that double drop is still a pretty big threat for Cyan.
Yeah, and this might lead into a window where uThermal can start pressuring maybe one of the outlying bases of Cyan, since Cyan, his map vision isn't amazing currently. He does have control of both watchtowers though, which is going to be really nice. uThermal definitely will have to take control of those before he can move out. Yeah,
Cyan has a decent ring, and oh my god, here we go. Both armies are pushing out. They might actually just clash here in the middle. Up.
And uThermal's on siege, but keep in mind, Cyan is moving through a choke with these disruptors, and uThermal will see them coming and dodge back, but he's going to get in a really nice position on this triangle third base.
Yeah, exactly. uThermal completely outpositions Cyan. He gets the third base, and he will be able to take it out for free.
Yeah, and the other thing is from here, he can now go to the fourth base of Cyan completely unhindered. As long as he can hold against these initial disruptor novas and start moving towards that direction, this is a very, very nice setup for him. At the same time, that annoying drop we were talking about comes into the main base and starts getting a lot of damage done.
Yeah, that it does. Meanwhile, the disruptor shots are missing. They're whiffing. They're not connecting the way they need to. We still have a couple more novas left, and they're okay. They're decent, but I don't know if it's going to be enough.
The super battery putting in work, though. The Colossus are not dying to the Vikings. the Disruptors are also somehow staying alive against the Marauders, and I mean, Cyan's going to clean it up, but he did lose his third base, and
the DTs!
But the DTs come in, and there's no scan ready.
There is no scan. The DTs actually came from behind and they cleaned up the entire tank line. It was absolutely insane. There's still a little bit of a drop here that's being annoying, but again, it's nothing really to be too concerned of. And uThermal, he's gonna be punished a little bit here for not going for that fourth base, right? He got the kill in the third, and then he wanted to end the game. He wanted to go for the kill. He wanted to go for the natural, but couldn't do it.
Yeah, but at least the nice thing is there's only 3 Disruptors out now and no Colossus, so the next push of uThermal, I mean, he's been macroing really well behind this. He should have a quite large force to go and put on even more pressure as he takes his fourth base.
Yeah, there we go. Fourth is on the way to land on location. There is the DT to be a little bit annoying there, but again, it's only one, and we'll see. We'll see if it's really going to be able to do too much. uThermal already pushing out across the map, headed towards that right-hand base.
As the planetary will get set up here, but at the same time, uThermal is pushing, as you said, towards that 5th base of Cyan. EMPs land on the Disruptors, and the first nova will be dodged, but definitely not the easiest base to attack into with the Rock still alive.
Yeah, exactly. Things are kind of in a weird way, like slowing down. Like we're in even bases, even workers. Cyan is trying to retake that triangular third base, but uThermal is not too far away, and it looks like he will be able to maybe deny. Up.
Yeah, and interestingly, even though uThermal does appear to be ahead in supply, a lot of his army is actually tied up in the bottom side. There's 4 Vikings stuck in the dead airspace, so...
Yeah, even the Vikings here, like, there's nothing really for them to do. Like, there are no Colossus anymore.
Yeah, so... Oh, a full medevac gets picked off there, and... I mean, even though this supply looks good for uThermal, as you were saying, there's 9 Vikings on the map right now, so his standing army is actually not that strong.
It's really not, and that's what I'm worried about, because like we still have a lot of power units here for the Protoss. We have Disruptors, we have Archons, and I feel like ideally the unit that you want against this kind of army composition are Liberators, right? Different kinds of units in the sky, not necessarily Vikings. Up.
Oh, a good EMP does land, but the Disruptor actually captures some Ghost. I mean, it is the game is redeemable for uThermal because the 5th base of Cyan is so late now that it got picked off earlier. So uThermal's actually been out mining thanks to the mules for quite a while, and in this matchup, being even in bases was almost always good for the Terran.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's still as close as it is, and it looks like uThermal's on the road to maxing out a little bit faster. 3-3s on the way as well, just hitting that halfway mark. And it's still feeling a little bit hard to call. Also, I'm a little bit surprised. I'm just now realizing that Enhanced Shockwaves is only just now starting.
Oh yeah, a bit of a mistake there. I wonder if that might have changed some of the fights one way or another, but it's definitely very nice for uThermal here that he's going to be up around 3 upgrades in just a moment, so he might be able to hit a strong timing, but attacking into Disruptors when there's this many of them is really, really tricky.
It really is. The army was spotted. Cyan is trying to get himself in position, trying to read the army positioning of uThermal.
Yeah, nice movement from uThermal. He will defend at the same time the Zealots back at home. There was a small run by, but it does get picked off, and yeah, I mean, uThermal has pretty dominant map control, even though Cyan's vision is still kind of crazy. Yeah,
it really is. Once again, we see another double drop here at the 5th base. There are some Stalkers to defend. There is an overcharge as well, but it looks like it's not going to be enough. We're going to need to see a warp in, and there is going to be some DTs up defend. At the same time, though, actually, he's overpowering like the army here. And then come the Vikings.
Vikings do come out. They are free of their eternal tomb. As at the top side, there's going to be a small fight as uThermal realizes he can't fight this army head on. He has to retreat, and I'm getting kind of worried that Cyan might bully into the 4th base here.
Yeah, it's one of those things where he can maybe... Exactly, he just forced this out. We do see the DTs blink on top of the army. In comes Cyan. I don't think uThermal has enough here to defend. Cyan, he can keep going.
Yeah, but at the same time, uThermal has killed the base, and he's not done yet. He's still moving forwards as more Stalkers get warped in, which can't even fight these Marauders, but the Disruptor will be out.
Oh my god, and surprisingly, Cyan turns around with his entire army.
Yeah, I feel like he definitely could have taken the 4th base there, especially since he had quite a few Disruptors that hadn't shot their shot yet.
Exactly, Cyan missing an opportunity, but he still has some, right? He still has this army. I still feel like there's still a lot of potential here, and now that he's finally dealt with that drop, he can focus on that main army engagement.
Yeah, I feel like uThermal just has to hold here. He's trying to get into his Liberator production. We see the second starport and the fusion core on the way, but they're not out yet. And if the Protoss army gets into position here with all of these disruptors, and remember, there's no Vikings really left anymore. Well, there's actually 6, but they're all on the bottom side with the army from before, so not in place to defend these Colossus, but he's going to be pushing into the bottom base of Cyan now.
Yeah, it's like this small force is actually doing so much for Cyan because he keeps so much. Sorry for uThermal because he keeps bringing Cyan back. Like Cyan, for whatever reason, just isn't feeling too comfortable pushing in towards that planetary, pushing in towards that arc of bio, and because of the lack of confidence, like uThermal, he's kind of getting away with this.
Yeah, and we see now the Watchtower being taken control of by uThermal, and the map control is starting to go in his favor as Cyan will start to move out again, but as soon as Cyan moves out with his Colossus army, the army on the bottom side is going to start to be annoying.
But the longer this goes on, mate, we got 4 Liberators being made at a time. Liberator ranged on the way as well. uThermal just needs to buy more time.
Yeah, and this is starting to become a really annoying place for Cyan to push into because the 5th base is not being taken on the top side. It's being taken on the center right side, which ideally you always want to be attacking that expansion that is newest of your opponent, since usually it's the least defended. Whereas this 4th base is starting to become a harder and harder place to attack into.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like maybe Cyan is planning to rotate around towards that bottom right-hand side of the map. He does back off again with his army, still kind of posturing, still kind of figuring out where he wants to go. But like again, because of all this, we're gonna have those libs, and unlike the previous PvT that we were able to see, or the previous game, sorry, Cyan doesn't have that transition into SkyToss ready.
Yeah, and there's been so much pressure this game that Cyan's actually been forced to take this top left base as a 6th instead of the bottom base, but the mine will go off on some of the units here and take them out as Cyan postures forwards, but I don't think he can make anything happen here.
Yeah, exactly. It's just too late. Oh god. Liberators are out. Again, we still don't see more Stargates. We don't see a fleet beacon, unlike the previous game, and I don't like Cyan's kind of stuck, despite like basically being maxed out. There we go. He's listening to the stream. 2-minute delay.
I don't even think we have a delay.
we do.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I mean, I feel like Cyan's been so pressured this whole game. He hasn't really had the bank to start switching to Stargates, as there's so many Liberators out here. There's no way you fight this without Tempest or Carriers.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, this transition is so late. Meanwhile, we do have a bit of a DT run by here, and oh my god! Oh my, he actually gets the planetary!
Yeah, the depot really working against uThermal. They're blocking a lot of the SCVs from repairing. I think if he had been able to get a full surround with the workers, that might have been a lot easier, but as they're actually... Cyan is posturing, he's almost trying to do the same move uThermal was doing, getting between these bases, trying to force him out, but the Liberators will come in and Cyan will have to retreat.
Yeah, he still doesn't have an answer to them. Once those freedom zones get set up, he has to respect them, but now in comes another Zealot run by, and I don't know if there's enough here, as sure, he's trying to trade with these Zealots, but they still get into the mineral line anyway.
Oh, uThermal moving his whole army out of position for these Zealots, but the Liberators are actually holding the base strong. I don't think Cyan realized how much of uThermal's army is out of position right now.
Yeah, exactly. There are only 2 Liberators here, so maybe Cyan can go for it, but no, he doesn't pull the trigger. He's still trying to find another way in.
Yeah. Oh, but this is the problem where uThermal's whole army has been out of position for quite a while now, so these Liberators are really doing work, and now we might be seeing a repeat of the Blackburn game where uThermal's army is forced to a small choke as he's actually going around the map and going for a counterattack.
We're going for a base trade, boys. Let's go. Liberators are good, but when they're left alone, they're not that good. Just like that, the majority of the Liberators have been cleaned up. Cyan keeps on going at the same time. uThermal counterattacks at that 4th base.
Yeah, but Cyan has 6 bases to work with. uThermal's going to have to kill so much to actually be ahead in this game. And remember, Cyan can recall whenever he wants, and he has so many disruptors.
Oh, but you know what he doesn't have? He doesn't have a lot of Stalkers. He's been throwing them away a little bit carelessly, and because of that, he still can't really clean up those Liberators.
Yeah, and I mean, uThermal doesn't know about this top left base. Maybe if he did, he can kill this base and immediately rotate. I feel like uThermal's doing it. The Liberators have killed so many of the Stalkers on the other side that Cyan's kind of stuck. He can't really push any further.
Yeah, like he killed 1 base and that's it. He just hasn't gone for another. Finally, he does find this planetary on the right-hand side. Finally, he goes for it. The disruptor shots finally are going off. But the Liberator is still such a big problem.
Yeah, there's only 5 Stalkers here, and there's 5 Liberators. There's no way that Cyan's going to be able to break this base, and uThermal holds.
Jesus Christ, the freedom zones are too much. He forces Cyan back. But carriers are coming out, so I still don't know how this game is gonna go. I still don't know if uThermal will be able to deal with them. I guess, to be fair, there aren't too many. There are about to be, what, 4?
Yeah, and at least I just wish that if somehow uThermal had gotten a spot in that top left, he would have been able to kill that base so easily just now. But since it's almost more of a hidden base at this point, it's going to be completely uncontested, and Cyan's still going to be mining really well here.
Exactly. It's still like Cyan hasn't seen it at all. He has no vision of that top left-hand base. Meanwhile, he's just taking more. He had CCs to spare, so despite having a really rough worker count, he will have the bases and the mules to supplement that. Meanwhile, I don't know how I feel about the carrier choice, by the way. I don't know if Tempest may have been a little bit wiser here for Cyan.
Yeah, I mean, with this Liberator count, you can almost just fight the Interceptors as you run away. Like, the air upgrades are only at +1 currently for Cyan, whereas they're at +2 for uThermal, so bit of an upgrade lead there, and I don't know how you clear through these Liberators, since, as you said, maybe Tempest would be a better choice.
Yeah, like we just saw the Stargates, sorry, the carriers tried to push in and they just lost almost all of their interceptors. Like they just they just can't do it. Not against the buyer supporting the libs.
Yeah, the problem is the ground can't engage the ground of the Protoss can't engage the ground of the Terran while the interceptors are killing the Liberators, because everything would have died at the Liberators.
Yeah.
As we see, yeah.
Yeah, like he gets 2 libs for all his interceptors. Look at that, he's out of interceptors. That's it.
Yeah, these carriers are just literally useless right now. uThermal can just start pushing forward with these libs and probably kill this bottom right base as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like Cyan, he's just bleeding minerals here with his choice of carriers. It looks like he's recognized that the Tempests are finally coming out, but at this point it may be a little bit too late. He only has 1 Tempest.
I'm kind of scared uThermal might be overextending a little bit here, but so many disruptors get picked off there. I feel like if he can just hold this position and kill these 2 Nexuses that Cyan has, he's also pushing at the top side at the same time. Surely he'll realize that the top left of base of Cyan must have been taken if this base hasn't been taken yet.
I mean, at this point, I don't think it even matters. Like, even if we look at the top left-hand base, like, Cyan doesn't have it saturated. Like, he's not really taking full advantage of that Nexus, as uThermal is just all over the place. He's taking up base after base. Cyan, he is running out of money.
Yeah, and I think that uThermal might have this as he takes quite a large supply lead. I mean, you can never count out this many carriers, though. If there's a good engagement with a lot of disruptor shots, it can definitely go south quick, but I mean, uThermal just has so much army on both sides, it's really hard for Cyan to actually find a window to move out.
Yeah, what I will say is that, I mean, there is a world where maybe if Cyan catches the army off guard, like maybe all the bio and the Liberators unsieged, there's a world where he can take a fight, but like that's probably the only scenario. Like if uThermal was prepared beforehand, like I don't think he can do it.
Yeah, and I mean, the ground army for Cyan is actually very weak here. It's just a few, like 3 or 4 Stalkers, and the rest is just Colossus Disruptor, which, as long as the splits are good, does not trade well against Ghost Marauder Lib. So it's going to come down to if these Interceptors can find value on the Liberators.
Yeah, pretty much. Meanwhile, ooh, okay, 2 Ghosts get picked off. A decent Disruptor shot, another one goes off, but this time it doesn't connect.
Yeah, the Interceptors are just evaporating. There's no Interceptors left already as the Liberators just focus them all down, and the siege zones are going to get set up. I think Cyan might be being pushed into a corner here.
Yeah, pretty much. He's just running out of Interceptors. In comes the buyer. The full surround comes in. EMPs connect with everything on the ground. And uThermal, he is fighting back. He swallows up the entire army.
Wow, a super decisive engage there from uThermal. GG.
uThermal ties it up. We are going to our ace match.
Wow. That game was non-stop.
Yeah, that was insane. I'm a little bit torn. I love that we are going to our ace match, but at the same time, I feel like there were like opportunities there for Cyan where he could have taken advantage of things before the Liberators came out. After they came out, it took a long time for him to tech up. It took a long time to transition into that Sky Toss.
Yeah, I think Cyan definitely had those windows, as you said, but it can be so hard when the Terran goes to that pseudo base trade where he's killing your buildings and you're not sure if you can push in, because remember, we have perfect vision, but Cyan doesn't have scans. He can't see how much army is actually at the 4th base, because I think he killed more than he realized when uThermal had to pick up with his medevacs. He killed quite a few full medevacs there and maybe didn't notice. But yeah, because of that, uThermal was able to get back into the game and then carry it to a win.
Oh yeah, yeah, that he did. GG, well played, uThermal. Again, putting that point on the board, forcing the game 3 in this series, and it's gonna be hard to predict who comes out on top, especially because game 1 and game 2, like both players were able to really show off and look strong in both of them. Either one.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this last game could really go either way. Neither player really showing too much dominance over the other. It definitely seems like a very, very balanced matchup here between these two.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of it may also play into the map as well. I'm curious. We haven't seen the vetoes, so I'm not too sure what map 3 is going to be, but I feel like it will really play into how the game turns out, especially when it comes to uThermal and what build he opens up with.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to predict, I'd probably say Hardwire is one of those maps that's probably less likely to get vetoed by either player, but we did already have different maps compared to our Probe vs. Ryung series, where we had Blackbird in the first game instead of 2000.
True.
But this series, of course, we got 2000 again, and now we're getting into Glittering Ashes. Very interesting that this map wasn't vetoed by uThermal.
Yeah, a larger map, which means it does kind of lean towards, players going into the more late game scenario. It can sometimes be harder to go for that counterattack style, but because the bases are more spread out, maybe that plays towards his advantage there when it comes to the multi-prong. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I guess this map was the last map, I think, in our Probe vs. Ryung series as well, so maybe one of the maps that is considered super balanced in the matchup, where I guess the length of it, as you said, is more balanced out by the fact that all the bases are so spread out.
Yeah, it's possible. We'll see. We'll see if the game takes us there or if we're over in the next 5 minutes. We'll see. Regardless, I'm very happy that we are going all the way to the ace match. We're getting as much out of these players as we can. That's how it needs to be here in the World Finals. Here we go. Game number 3, Glittering Ashes. Oh boy.
I'm still recovering from that game. That was crazy.
It's all good, man. It's all good. And here we go. We are spawning in the top right hand corner of Glittering Ashes LE. And here we have our blue Terran player hailing from the land of the Netherlands, representing Team Liquid. It is uThermal.
Spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, having a very, very close game in that last one. It is Good Game Gaming's Cyan.
GGG.
GGG.
Beautiful. Oh god. But here we go. Game number 3. I'd almost forgotten, but game 2 started with uThermal going for a 3 racks, right?
Yeah, it did. Very interesting opening with the double Reaper after the reactor. Definitely throwing Cyan off guard.
Yeah, so we've seen like 2-1-1, we've seen 3 racks. What else? What else does uThermal have in store for us here on Glittering Ashes? I doubt we're gonna see the Boar Bus. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Do you know why it's called the Boar Bus? Is that
no?
Okay.
I have no idea.
Comes up with these names. I don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure. As the probe will be trapped in the main here, so uThermal will be able to get a pick off on this, but it looks like it's gonna be a 1-base opening with a factory at home.
Oh, yes, it is. I mean, there's some pros and cons to this. Obviously, this probe is stuck in the main base, but at least Cyan is able to confirm the opener, confirm that it is a factory after said racks. No 3 racks here.
So I do just want to say, hypothetically, this could still be the Boar Bus.
Ah.
I think that something uThermal said in his video on it was like he often plays this style where you do the more TVT-esque opener where you get 2 Reapers and a bunch of Hellions and you pressure the Protoss, like more of what we see in TVT, but it could also lead into more of a aggressive style as well, but it looks like it's just going to be that 2 Reaper 1 Hellion pressure into the expand.
Yeah, maybe he's keeping that build hidden and safe until a future TVP, as there are a lot of Protosses in this bracket. So I wouldn't blame him. Wouldn't blame him if he's keeping it close to the chest. Meanwhile, Cyan opening up completely differently here with the Stargate.
Yeah, I think this is the first Stargate we've actually seen this whole series, so
Yeah.
I'm interested. I guess when you scout the factory at home like that, maybe this is the best choice. But yeah, I don't think... Yeah, Cyan hasn't quite confirmed that there's a natural up now, so he'll probably expect some Hellion Reaper pressure, but he doesn't know that there is going to be an expand behind it.
Yeah, he's a little bit in the dark, but I'm glad to see a little bit of diversity from the Proto side of things. We were talking about it when Probe was playing his TVP, how we ended up on Glittering Ashes and we still did not see that Stargate opener, even though you can sometimes get away with it. Meanwhile, both Reapers getting to the main base.
Yeah, and a Hellion diving into the natural at the same time, but I think there's going to be enough units in position that neither side will really get too much done, but 2 workers is already actually not too bad.
Yeah, it's more than you would typically expect, to be honest. So nicely done there by uThermal. He even keeps one of his Reapers alive, and he was even able to get a full scout of the main and confirm that Stargate.
Yeah, and not just the Stargate, but the fact that there's going to be an Oracle, so it's not just going to be a high Phoenix count right away, but Cyan will be going into it now. Definitely a common thing to see on these big maps is those Phoenix flocks that kind of prevent the Terran from moving too far out onto the map.
Oh yeah, but it's not going to stop uThermal because he's doubling down with his Widowmine drop, as he's even getting an armory behind this.
Yeah, and Cyan actually maybe reading this, getting quite a fast robo on 2 bases, so he will have the observer. Oh, but the hidden mine behind the orbital dish actually killing the Oracle. Very common place for the mine to be put there, since the burrowed indicator is completely invisible.
Yeah, beautifully done here by uThermal. Also, I want to commend him a little bit on his Marine micro there. He was kind of dancing and picking up the weakened Marines, and he traded so incredibly efficiently. And now he's going across the map with those Widow. I mean, he's making a Thor?
Oh my god.
What? What?
I mean, Phoenix can't pick up Thor's light.
True.
I mean... I saw someone in the chat call this somehow. They said right before the game started, like, time for Thors or something. I guess they got their wish.
Was it Carowin? Oh my god, here we go. We have the Widowmine drop, but nicely done here. The first Widowmine was already picked up. The second one was picked up. Oh my god, the third was picked up as well before they borrow. Oh my god.
Oh, and the 4th will too, so the armory not even coming into play here. Wow. But almost a nice thing. At least Cyan will definitely not expect Thors if he doesn't even know that there's an armory on the map.
True. As, oh god, it looks like the Phoenix is going to try and chase down this medevac as well. It looks like the boost is going to barely keep it alive, as it does come within range of all these Marines.
Yeah, I'm really worried for uThermal though. There is an Immortal on the way, which is quite strong against the Thors. Oh my god, the boys are coming to repair the Thor, and the Phoenixes have no idea that there is currently a Thor on the map. They've completely missed this move out, and he just probably thinks there's being a tank being built at this factory. He has no idea what's happening.
Let's go. We'll see if it'll work, because these Phoenixes are actually wreaking havoc across the map. I don't know if you noticed, but the Phoenixes actually killed a Raven across the map as well. So a bit of a feels bad, man, but here we go. The Thor is here, but an Immortal meets it.
That Thor is here indeed, as it will get microed back, and the Immortal is not getting too much damage on it, as it will start to get repaired by these SCVs, and you really just have a lot of dead supply with these Phoenixes at this point, as the Thor will dish out a ton of damage to them.
Oh my god, exactly. It's dishing out so much damage to all those Phoenixes, and as you were saying earlier, the Phoenixes cannot pick up the Thor. The Thor's trying to focus down the Immortal. It looks like one more shot. The Immortal goes down.
The Immortal goes down, and the Medivac has died, so there's no more micro potential on the Thor, but there's still some SCVs here to repair, and the Robo is already getting in a bit of a scary position. It might go down soon, but Colossus is out now, so maybe Cyan will start to hold?
Maybe. I mean, with this Colossus, he can shave away at these Marines, but the Thor is still just standing strong. There is still no real answer to it.
Yeah, I mean, we can see the Thor anti-air attack against the Colossus is so effective.
Oh my god.
So much DPS. This Thor has killed so much. It's got 7 kills already, all high-tech Protoss units, and the Robo is going to go down.
Wow, he targets down the Robo. The second Thor shows up. And mate, if you thought one Thor was OP, 2 Thors is insane. There is no answer. The overcharge is being pumped to try and deal with this. The Zealots are trying to close this, but it's not enough.
Yeah, man, back Thor is still getting repaired. The two Thors actually out DPSing the super battery as these Marines in the back have been dealing so much damage. There's no Robo anymore. A Void Ray is started. Cyan's running stuff.
Mate, and this push lasted long enough where Stim just finished up for the Marines. There we go, Stim is coming into play. We have the stutter stepping Marines. 20 probes go down, and it looks like uThermal's gonna do it. GG!